All right. Sorry about that. Welcome, everybody. It is March 30th, 2023. This is the Cluster API Azure weekly meeting. We are a sub-project of SIG Cluster Lifecycle Kubernetes umbrella project, and as such, we try to follow their rules of conduct, which basically boils down to everybody be polite to each other and try to use the raise hand feature in Zoom so that we don't talk over each other. I will do my best to recognize you if you raise your hand, but I'm a little UI deficient here, so I'll do my best. If you wouldn't mind adding your name to this list, just helps people network or remember who said something useful at the meeting. And now's the time where we usually let anyone who's here for the first time or has something wants to introduce themselves do so. So I'll be quiet for just a second. If you want to introduce yourself, just go ahead and do
it. I think that might be me. Hi, I'm Jim Walker. I'm from Enable, which is a SaaS company, and yeah, just looking to try and get started with contributing to Kubernetes. This is my first entry to this. I put my name on the sheets, but I'm not sure how to access it.
I'm not sure what. Sorry, the last thing you said broke up a little.
I don't know how to access this particular sheet.
Oh.
Oh, thank you. Cheers.
Somebody put it in chat. Oh, you're the best. Thank you very much. It's up at the top here as well. And in the Slack list, in the Slack channel, there's a link to all this stuff as well. But awesome. Welcome, Jim. Thanks for coming. All right. Let's move on. We actually have very little on the agenda, but that doesn't necessarily mean we don't have a lot to talk about, as we've learned. So everybody probably knows, maybe you don't, that the patch releases are available. There's a fair amount in the patch releases. When you actually look at the release notes, the only things that show up in the release notes are things that we specifically flagged as this needs a user. This is sort of user facing. So under the covers, you probably know there's quite a bit more bug fixing and other things that went on. So anyway, these are important bug fixes. Why can't I go back a page? Fine. And thanks everybody here, I think, pitched in on them quite a bit. Other related news, we are working on integrating with CAPI 1.4.0. Again, if you went to the CAPI meeting yesterday, we're probably just repeating ourselves, but this is the place to do that. And I don't have any updated status on that, and Willie's taken a couple days off. So I don't think there's anything else to say there. Anybody have any comments or questions about the patch releases or what we're doing with CAPI 1.4.0? Cool. Well, that was all that was put on the agenda, but if anyone has anything to bring up ad hoc, let's do it now. Yeah, go, Mike.
I just had a general question that I was going to ask in Slack later today, but since we have a late meeting, I'll go ahead and ask now. For CAP-Z, is there a recommended max number of clusters to manage with it in a single install?
That's an excellent question. I have no idea. I really don't know. To me, manage from one management cluster, how many workload clusters?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Jack might have an answer for us, but he's on spring break this week. I don't know. Does anybody have any info on that?
I'm just kind of curious if there's been across any of the CAPI providers any kind of performance like load testing for how many clusters can be under management on a management cluster. I don't know if there has. Do you know, Mike? Has anybody else done that kind of testing, CAPI?
I know I gotta look back up in the Slack history. That's why I was gonna ask in Slack later in general. Cappy had a recommendation of a few hundred, but I forget the exact number of clusters inside of the Cappy side. And before you start doing, you gotta start really playing with the number of oh my goodness, total mind blank on the word, not threads,
Number of nodes.
reconcilers,
Oh, okay.
and all that kind of stuff, because you'll end up in a situation where, it just doesn't reconcile some clusters because it's busy reconciling other ones,
Okay.
or, you'll get stuck really behind in the queue and things will really back up. But I don't remember what that number is, and where I saw it in the chat.
Yeah, I think we need to get to the source of that and what testing has been done. Because I mean, it's likely going to be, shouldn't be really much different today for CapZ than the general CAPI provider, as my
Okay,
gut here. And now obviously, like once and if we, move forward on the proposal with ASO, that's going to definitely change the game. And I know that we have in our plans, assuming we do move forward with that, to do some load performance testing there. But yeah, I think it's a great question. It's a very relevant one for us to know, what that is.
I wonder how much it depends on the type of management cluster as well.
Right. Yeah. The size and what are the like characteristics of it? Like if you're just using it as a management control plane and nothing else, like
Right.
what is the ideal, like, stamp characteristics that you need, memory, CPU, etc.
Yeah, where's the bottleneck in the management cluster? I feel like we don't really know, or maybe people in CAPI have done research.
yeah. From our side, we're going to be using it just as a management cluster.
Yeah.
So maybe have a local Argo on it, but that doesn't do very much load.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. I know Argo has a bunch of performance data in general, so it does have some load there on Argo, but I think yeah, we should have something published in CAPI at a minimum somewhere. If it's not there, then I think that's a good question for CAPI, right?
Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, great question. I see you got a couple people who showed up a little late, and we really didn't have a lot of agenda. You can see right there, we mostly just talked about the patch releases, and then Mike had a good question about scaling CapZ. So if any of you have anything to bring up, this would be a good time to do that. Otherwise, we'll probably move on to milestone review. Yeah, Ashutosh.
Matt, I have a question on, like, is there a way we can run focused E2E tests in CI? Because I'm able to do that locally, but when I set up the variable in Makefile, looks like it is not obeyed in CI, because I went and looked at test infra, and one of the jobs that I'm trying to run is like the optional job, and it has like Jinko focus environment variable explicitly passed as optional, which eventually runs all the optional tests. Have you ever tried doing that? Like anyone, like, or is it like just trying to understand, is there anything that I'm missing or not doing, or it's just that it's not possible right now?
I haven't tried that hard, but I've certainly wanted to do that before. And I thought there was no, I didn't see a way to pass Ginkgo focus all the way through. Yeah. But obviously you can do it locally.
Oh yeah.
And so usually that's all I've done. So I haven't dug any deeper. Does anyone have any other info about how you might, it would be great, I guess, is my thought, if you could do that in general, because there's a lot of times where we were sort of stuck last week on a lot of PRs because the cluster class spec in the optional test was failing, and it would be it would have been nice if we could have just skipped that because some of them we knew that was irrelevant. But no, you get the whole set of optional tests as far as I can tell. Does anybody have
Yeah.
any other ideas there? I mean, I guess that would be a killer enhancement is because I don't think it's currently possible.
That's fine.
You-
I mean,
You've probably dug deeper than anyone else at this point.
yeah, so right now what I did is in the make file that has this target just T2E, something like that. So I just hard coded my point of focus, like what I want to run, so that it
In the
doesn't
make
read
file?
the yeah, I mean in my PR, just to actually make sure that I run that particular test for my
Yeah.
testing. And it eventually does not read from the environment variable that's spot. So, but I think, yeah, once I'm done with that, I can look into ways how we can do that, in a neater way, probably make a PR. So thanks, Matt. That helps.
Yeah. Let me just finish making a little note here. Cool. Any other topics anybody wants to talk about?
I just want to, sorry, I did not raise my hand, but I just wanted
No,
to
don't
tell
worry.
one thing that for the workload identity PR, like this is the first time, I was able to like do a successful authentication in the E2 test. So this is a good sign. And
Awesome.
thanks to Cecile and Anish for helping on that. So yeah, right now the tests are failing for a different reason. Mostly, I suspect I saw logs of quota allocation issues in optional tests, but as far as my test was concerned, the workload identity test, I didn't see anything significant. But the virtual machine, the long running operation did not complete eventually, and there were no cloud init logs. So I didn't get much on what went wrong. So I'm just trying to run that particular workload identity E2 test isolated, so that if there is anything wrong, I can figure it out. So that's the update on that part.
That sounds like huge progress, though. That's great.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's been a lot of blockers like on getting this. So that yeah, thanks everyone who helped me along the way.
Awesome. All right. Unless we have anything else, let's do a quick milestone review. 1.9 is coming up in a month, little over a month. 50% complete. Rather than drill into each one of these, just feel free to shout out if you have updated status, or if you think it's not going to make the milestone already, or anything like that. All those things are in progress. Nawaz, what's going on with CNI? It seems like we're sort of blocked by, I forget what, but I feel like it's blocked. Is this something that should still stay on the milestone?
Oh, it should definitely stay on the milestone, I guess.
Right.
So the image builder PR, I think it's very close to being merged. We are just waiting on one of the tests, the CAPZ flat car test. And on the other side, the E2E tests are in the work. So that should be good to go this milestone.
Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. I didn't want to single you out. I just had obviously a tiny amount of context on that one. We just talked about workload identity. This one I'm going to follow up on, I think, still. I don't know if this is going to happen in this. Well, maybe it's not time to kick it off yet, but it seems like we're a little farther away from starting to move towards. Yeah.
I think with that one, I mean, right, I think we need to break it down, right? I think that's kind of one of the things that is missing, because I think we're kind of waiting right on the ASO proposal to move forward. If that moves forward, then we need to look at which resources we want to move to ASO and which ones we want to migrate to the new SDK, right?
Right. And then then we can narrow this issue down or open a new one that just says
Right.
these specific services are what we care
Correct.
about. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, because there's no way we're going to migrate everything by then, unless we really have a high priority on it. But like a subset of that, we probably should, right, or will.
Yeah. All right. Well, so I guess we'll just leave that there, and at some point soon we'll update it to be more specific. This one kind of hangs off the same things moving forward. That's fine. ASO is still moving forward, but I know, John, you wanted to prove out a couple more things before we give it a final thumbs up. This is still ongoing, but as we probably all know, there's potentially a blocker issue that opened up in CAPI that we want to fix. This, I've had a lot of communication with Azure support about getting quota, and they basically want us to change the nature of the subscription that we use, so we may end up doing that. Okay, well, if nobody has any specific feedback on those, let's do an even quicker rollover these and see what needs to go. This absolutely doesn't need to be in the milestone, although it might be there. I don't know what Cecile intends for that. This, I think, actually switching fully over to using MCR for all the Calico images requires a couple of our internal pipelines to be updated, and I don't know if Jeremy's team is on that in the next week or two, so it may, I'm thinking that's going to take longer. This seems like it's close to ready to go, so let's add it to the milestone. Especially since Willie's not here, we'll just put him. That's what happens. Back button. There we go. I'm going to leave that where it is because I don't know the status exactly. That work in progress I'll leave alone. This I don't, this is a good change, but I don't think it needs to be tied to the milestone. This should be in there along with the issue that it references. Ignore all the in progress ones. I know this has been sitting here for a while. ASO is already on the milestone. Unless anybody has anything at the top of their minds that needs to go in there, I think we can call it good. Yeah, Ashutosh.
In Matt, I just pasted one issue on chat. It just came to my mind. Sorry about not adding it to the agenda, but
No
if you
problem.
can open that, please.
Hopefully that was a safe link to click on. Yes, good, it was.
Yeah, so I've been like following this issue, and you know,
Oh yeah.
David commented on this issue, explaining like possible cause of this issue, but I don't think I understand it like very clearly. So maybe I just need some help in understanding that, and if anyone can help me that, like, or I'll just ping David on Slack. But so this but the high level info is that we could actually make a PR in CAPZ that does not set the status to false when we have a status for 0 context deadline exceeded error. So that would help because this errors eventually gets recovered. So, and it's an intermittent error. So it is not right to actually put the status to error state.
I see.
Do you have any thoughts, or that's fine if you have not went through this, but I would just need some help and guidance on this issue because I've seen that this occurs a lot of time. And there are other folks in the community who have faced it, and I can see folks that commented there. So
Yeah.
just wanted to bring this up.
I mean,
And I can take.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can take this issue up, and I think the fix would be a small one. So if you can make it on 1.9 milestone, I'll work on this one. But just want to understand more on why this error occurs.
Should I sign it to you as well, or is it already?
Yep, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have a lot more context than what I just read in the thread, but I'd be happy to help. It's maybe David. It seems like David had some good ideas, and I'm sure he'll help too.
Yep.
Thanks. That's great. Anything else anybody can think of? I guess we could take a glance at the new issues. Oh my. Bunch more test coverage ones that Willie's been filling in. I don't think those have a deadline. No, we've already looked at these, so let's call it good, unless there's something else. Anything anybody wants to add before we sign off?
No, I don't think so, but I'd just taken a look at that issue, Ashutosh. I mean, it does look like it's something we definitely should prioritize. So, I think, yeah, reaching out to David would be good. And, yeah, let us know if we can help more.
Yeah,
Sure.
Thanks for stepping up.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you.
Jim, did you have something?
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at the issue adding missing test coverage for Azure Machine Webhook.go, and just going through setting up my environment and getting everything to build and stuff like that. If I run into trouble, should I just post on the SIG cluster Lifecycle Slack? And are most of the people here on the western coast of the USA?
There's a more specific channel. There's a cluster API-Azure channel, and
Okay.
we're all there, and we're mostly in the Pacific time zone, but I'm in the Mountain time zone. John's in Eastern or Central, and so we're a little spread out, but mostly in the Western time zone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. If you need any help, definitely just post whatever in the Slack, and someone will help there.
Yeah, it's the cluster API Azure channel would be the best one, not the cluster lifecycle one.
Cool. And should I comment on the issue that I'm working on it, or should I just leave it?
Yeah, the best protocol is you do like I did. Maybe you saw just now. You do /assign.
Okay.
And if you don't say anything else, it'll assign it to you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. We'll call it good for this week, and hopefully we'll see everybody same time next week. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one.
Soon.